Hello and welcome to the next episode of DDR, a podcast all about the one, the only, your favorite Drow, Drizzt Do'Urden! My name is Justin, and in this episode we'll be diving deep into Chapter 18 of Homeland, titled The Black Room. Discussing all of our favorite plot points, characters, and more.
Justin, I gotta say, that might have been my favorite lead-in from you yet. Like, I could hear the NCAA tournament in the background, the cannons. Beautiful.
You should have done it!
I was hyped. My name, guys, I'm Jeffrey, and I feel like by now you should probably getting down to the format a little bit, getting used to it. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna explain to you real quick that this book and D&D, well, you might have noticed they got a few connections. So
just a few.
Maybe just a lot more than I'm actually going to really remember or catch. So we're going to take a little bit of time inside of this show to make sure we show you how this part of the chapter and the tabletop game are connected.
Awesome. Following along with the show is super easy. Just grab a copy of the book, read the next chapter, and tune in every week. But remember, we want to hear your thoughts too. You can share those with us via email at drizztdoneright@gmail.com.
So we've got the email. We do have the Instagram page for Drizzt Done Right, and we do have the Facebook page for Drizzt Done Right. So we decided, much like an infomercial, but wait, there's more. Let's throw in the Discord page, right? Drizzt Done Right, got the Discord page. What you've got to do is you've got to go ahead, go into the episode description all the way down, and you'll find this little link that we've personalized just for you, the listener of this episode right here. Click that link, come on in. We've already got a motley crew of members inside of our Dim Light Squad. That's the name of the people that we came up with to give a little shout out to the fans of the show that get together and go beyond the page. We like to dive a little deeper, and it's a fun way for us to be able to help make them a little bit of a part of the fabric of this show, because I don't know about how many other podcasts you listen to, but mostly I would say the fabric of that they have is made up of the people who push play on that button, and we're no different. So we put it there for you. So when everybody brings up something that's a little bit different, something we love to feature, we just slap it in the show, throw it out there. Justin, have you noticed our demographic breakdown lately?
I haven't taken a look until you told me right before the show, Jeffrey.
Well, in a fun turn of events, go ahead, throw it out there, give it the big news.
What? There's 19 countries now. 19. Just within the past week, we've gained 2 more countries.
Correct.
Were we keeping track of the exact countries that we had?
No, I was not.
No,
I was kind of keeping an overall view because it breaks down our percentages per country.
Right.
But
right.
As it grows, I'm always like, wait a minute, why is this list getting longer? Like, as I get older, I got to spin down the dial where it's like, what year were you born? I just keep going. It's like, wait a minute.
Oh, no.
Wait a minute. There wasn't this many when I checked a while back.
So we have what? The Dominican Republic is obviously a new one, and
yep.
I'm pretty sure New Zealand is the other new one.
I do believe that we both now are live in New Zealand and the Dominican Republic for the first time since the show started. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Wild. For all we know, Jeffrey, these are just people listening with VPNs or something.
And you know what? Either way, I'm okay with that, because right now the people who are either listening from those countries or through the VPN of those countries, they represent our international market. And as we watch, you guys are responsible for jostling your spots in the rankings. Right now, we had mentioned before that Canada is standing number 2, strong up there at the top of our list with a whole 7% there. If you want to take over that spot, what you do is you tell a couple of family members, you go get a couple of friends. Maybe you hang up a flyer at your local library where, you get a couple of new strangers together, and you guys can bond over the fact that there's this fun podcast you guys like listening to. That's us. It's us.
And you just let us know that you did that, and we'll let you know if those numbers go up.
Yeah. And look, shout out Canada. Just want you to know you gotta up those numbers and fend off all those challengers. Can't let people come topple you from the top of the hill, right?
And maybe one day you guys can topple the United States in our numbers.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I never expected anybody to listen outside of the United States. So for
Me
all
neither.
of you right now who are listening to us and thinking that we sound funny, thank you. Beyond that, it's pretty cool for a little bit of a behind-the-scenes shot for the followers of the show. our audience really for the first time is now almost diversified beyond Spotify. So it usually makes up a large chunk of our listening where you guys are pressing play from. And now it has been dismantled by other avenues
Yeah.
like Pocket Cast, Overcast. They've come on strong pretty hard. iHeartRadio is a big puller for us
Is a
right now.
big one. Yep.
And, I kind of like to think of it like, look, it's Girl Scout season, guys. We're the cookies. Just get out there, throw them around, and keep bringing people in. We'll keep firing out fun content for you to listen to, and hopefully we'll just keep riding this wave of momentum together.
Yeah.
But,
Awesome.
at the end of the day, it's more than a little bit humbling. I've gone on long enough. Justin, how you been?
Oh, Jeffrey, it's been a lot lately, but I gotta say, like, I took some time this weekend. I did a thorough cleaning of my aquarium with my 2 angelfish, and I got them a new LED light, and right before we started recording here, I just took like 2 minutes just to go sit in front of the fish tank and just watch them swim around, and I never thought growing up that I would like fish as a pet.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I can see that. They're not very interactive. You're not playing fetch with them.
exactly, they're not. I mean, I never thought that fish would be excited to see you.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're not like cuddling up with them or anything like that, but fish do get excited to see you. At least like they start to recognize like, hey, when that person comes over, they give me food.
Yeah.
So we're gonna like. But really, it's the chemistry that really got me into the whole fish tank thing. But
Yeah, say
then I
angelfish
started-
are not the easiest fish to deal with and keep a tank on, right?
I mean, that's what they say. But I've had my angelfish laying eggs and hatching them, but I don't do anything with them because like I don't have room for 500 fish, so they end up just eating them. But
Hey guys, stay tuned for the DDR buy a fish. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, we'll give them out as gifts.
We got a new merch link, guys. Go in there and buy a fish. Click. No, I'm just playing. We're not gonna sell live fish. We're not gonna have the merch.
No. But yeah, it was the chemistry that got me into it. But then it was like, oh no, like fish it's just so calming just to sit down and just like watch them, and they'll chase laser pointers and stuff. It's
Oh wow,
it's a lot of fun.
I would not think that. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's been a busy time. My official classes started at work, and so I'm, studying all day, coming home and studying some more, and that's just what my life will be until September. So this getting to sit down and do this podcast with you is definitely the highlight of my weeks.
Oh, I like doing this with you too, buddy. Hopefully it's the highlight of a few other people's weeks too. When those Mondays roll out, we get to chase away some of the blues for you guys.
Yeah, so that's how I'm doing. How are you doing, Jeffrey?
I'm doing pretty good. Just been kicking around, keeping caught up on my TV programs, not doing anything fantastic or exciting.
Nice.
It's funny as an adult, you kind of you look forward to those little lapses in activity sometimes where it's like you got so many things juggling and going on that it's nice to just kind of be like, you know what? Like you talked about sitting there for 2 minutes in the fish. I had to, sit out there in the garden. I got the cats that walk around. Sometimes it's nice to just have those little slow moments.
Yep, absolutely. No, it's once things get too busy, it's like, as a somewhat introverted person, it can get to be a little bit much.
Yeah, I mean, mental health is real, right? And some days you just you got to have a spot to recharge and a way to do it. And if you don't, I feel like sometimes you're just going to end up running yourself like a sponge with no moisture. It's going to be a tough day to be flexible, buddy.
Or butter spread too thin on, or what is it? Shoot. I totally butchered it. Butter spread over too much bread, right? Just like what Bilbo says in The Lord of the Rings.
Know.
No? Oh.
No. But
all right.
Instead of keeping it slow, why don't we fire it back up? Why don't we jump on in here? What do we do after we get caught up with the intro?
Let's jump right into the Drizzt.
Yes! For those of you who are listening, the Drizzt is the part of the show where we take a look at this week's chapter and give you the Drizzt of it. As the chapter begins, we find Alton DeVere, a.k.a. the Faceless One, being pushed aside as Vierna enters his chambers, much to the surprise of Alton. It quickly becomes apparent that Vierna has used the Faceless One as an agent before, and Alton began to nimbly navigate his way through this perilous situation. Before he could begin, Vierna had prostrated herself before him, apologizing that the payment for his role in the role of the fall of House de Vere, was a cream that should have healed his face. Vierna assured him, you know what, look, the payment for his role as a spy for the House Do'Urden this time would be a fancy wizard staff. I mean, they couldn't use it. They don't have a wizard capable of throwing that staff around, so they're going to give it to Alton, at this point she's giving it to Gelroos to tempt him. And it's something that he would find extremely valuable. Inside, though, Alton wanted to rage. He wanted to lash out and claim vengeance. But even though his mind was reeling, he did manage to keep himself composed and promised that he'd do what he could to help House Do'Urden. After Vierna left, Matron Sinife made a quick appearance later that day, and Alton was quick to fill her in on the situation. She had known that Dinan and Vierna had resigned their positions at the academy, but found a delicious irony in the fact that House Do'Urden had reached out in hopes of using Gelroos Hanet as an agent, who's the son of the house who is plotting the fall of House Do'Urden. But as the irony gets deeper, the person that Vierna actually places her hopes in is Alton de Vere, the lone survivor of House de Vere, which is the house that House Do'Urden eradicated. So the actual lever they're going to pull on to help try to cause the fall of House Do'Urden is the same person that Vierna walks in to say, hey, could you help us find the people who are looking to come get us?
Wild.
Because of the attack of House Do'Urden, needless to say, Alton is not going to be giving as much reliable information as they really hoped that he would. Then Alton thought Massage might be in danger because, House Do'Urden is on the edge, and Matron Safé didn't worry. She knew that their identity was secure. Alton sought to use his position to deceive Matron Malice, but Matron Sinife realized the folly that would surely ensue when Matron Malice saw through this poor guise. They had too much to lose to act recklessly. She began weaving a plan in place to implicate a higher house, even, and maybe hope to send House Do'Urden into a little bit more chaos. A realization dawned on Alton, though, and he stopped Matron Sinife to clarify if she had given Gelroos permission to betray House de Vere. And Matron Sinife quickly throws him to the ground and warns him to never confuse personal feelings with politics and to never question her like that again. So she threw him to the ground but never let him go from her gaze. He knew that he was a minor pawn in the scheme between the houses, but her rage as she stood over him reinforced her power, and he realized he had far overstepped his boundaries.
Go ahead. Sorry, let me stop you there. Do you think she gave Gelroos permission to do that?
Oh, foreshadowing. We're going to talk about that.
All right, cool.
So, as the chapter continues, short answer is yes. As the chapter continues, we find ourselves brought across the mushroom grove to a small, heavily guarded cave, beyond iron-bound doors, where there stands a single room. And this room is used only for the gatherings of the city's 8 ruling matron mothers. What an eerie picture that paints in the mind to think of these 8 female Drow, who I have to imagine are all on the elder side, sitting in this room, weaving the power of Menzoberranzan.
I mean, they would have to have their guard there, right? They would have guards. I mean, this would... I feel like the rest of the city would know that this is going on, right? Like, you would think...
I don't think so. I think... And... to the people who have read further along in the books who've already had spoilers and everything else, forgive me if I trample over it, because I'm just going to go ahead and speculate on where we're at right now, because we haven't learned anything. So from this point, no, I think you have to think that they're funneling in from like a secret chamber of sorts, that they're using some kind of a guarded entrance to go in here like a Supreme Court justice entering the thing, just keep them like not cloaked or whatever, but a way to secretly enter so that people don't know business is afoot, especially when you look at the way that the chapter ends.
Right. No, I'm on board with that. But I just feel like, I would like to know more details about this room. And
I feel like people would know pretty soon, because I feel like Menzoberranzan works as an echo chamber. As soon as something happens, of value, it gets passed from one to another. And within time, everybody will know.
Yeah.
But you picture these older ladies, because being a matron mother, I don't think any of them are spry and young. But older ladies there sitting at this gigantic spider-shaped table, all glittery
Right.
in their jewelry and begrudging the fact that they're called to leave their chambers to attend these, what they see as honorary seats for any reason other than a true emergency.
Yeah.
Alton watches these women walk in and he can't help but feel like this maliciousness in the air. The power these women wield was more than a little intimidating, but Matron Sinife was there with him, gauging the women as they entered. The meeting began when all were seated, and Matron Sinife was quick to call for the punishment of House Do'Urden, to quite a few gasps at the table. Matron Bayenray questions her. After all, Matron Malice was thought to be strongly in the Lul's favor, especially after placing 2 children at the academy in such high positions. The matrons of the ruling council clamored for proof. A false claim was on par with murder, and the years had been quiet by Drow standards. Matron Sinife began a tale of House DeVere, and was scoffed at. That had been 30 years ago, after all, and the issue was forgotten. It was mere memories by now, which is always one of my coolest things to think of when you see long-lived races, is how quickly these just gigantic events in history must just seem like forgotten lore to them. Like, oh, that was so long ago. You know
Right.
what?
But it was like, yeah, like 30 years in a Drow's life is like 10 years to us. I mean, even less probably.
Yeah. Matron Malice explained that Matron Bayenray explains that House DeVere could not be caused for punishment, more like cause for compliment, because whoever pulled that off did such a perfect raid. Matron Sinife played the moment perfectly and explained that her guest was proof of House Do'Urden's treachery. The room looks over, and the room saw son Jelrus, but she revealed him to be none other than the lone survivor, Alton DeVere.
Oh, man. Dun, dun, dun.
Matron Bayenray quickly calls out for magic to be used, and then soon found that no lie was being told. I like the idea. That's like breaking out the lie detector, right? Like, bring it in, bring it
Right.
in,
Oh, yeah.
strap him
And
up. Listen, go ahead. Now, are you saying the
Again, spoilers. We will be talking more about this.
truth? We call that foreshadowing. With Alton revealed, little had changed for Matron Bayenray. After all, it had been 30 years, and Matron Malice was in favor of the Spider Queen. It made little sense to try and exact punishment now. And Matron Sinife, she deftly sidesteps and asks not for justice, but for the council to look the other way. The other council members wondered about the convenient timing of this accusation. This must surely be a ploy by House Hunet to advance their standing. And Matron Sinife explained that, well, they should look the other way for the good of the council, for the good of their sons, whose quest for recognition, but are already living in the shadow of Drizzt Do'Urden. And I found this really odd that she kind of uses the males as a way to pull on the heartstrings.
Right.
After all this time leading up to it being like a male child, and we know the lack of worth they hold. Like,
Right.
so why is she in here pitching like, your sons need recognition?
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, to have a ninth house son, male, in the academy, what's his name?
Bergignon. Or
Bergignon.
Yeah.
For Bergignon to be shadowed by a male from a ninth house. I guess even though they're male, like it's still just a...
Yeah, I mean, because I guess you're still collecting stamps, right? Like, there's the matrons in their
Right.
houses, and they're still like, well, I need that shiny stamp that says, number 1 at the academy, and I don't have that. That's a good point.
Gotta get that achievement.
I figured at this point she's probably pulling out all the stops, in hope of driving her point home, whatever she can grasp onto.
Yeah.
Vengeance or prudence, the way of the Drow required the claim to be deemed legitimate. Matron Bayenray lets out this little chuckle that sounds kind of like a croak. It's hard to tell, but she saw an end to the problems either way. For if House Hunet went after House Do'Urden, then Matron Malice may end up with her seat without threatening anyone else on the council. Matron Sinife seemed willing to take that risk. Whichever house came out on top, maybe collateral damage would claim Drizzt and give Bergignon a chance to rise. Matron Bayenray called an end to the meeting by declaring that it was a good thing they never met.
I loved that. That was really cool.
That belongs in the only way I can think to explain it is like a Harry Potter lore, right? Where it's like, you know, your invitation has arrived. Like those lines that just
Right.
close the chapter. But bam, you can hear
Yep.
the thing fall. Like when she stands up and says, "It's a good thing we've never met." I just feel like they should
Yeah.
start cueing the music, like ding, da, ding, 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 ding. Like it was so good.
Yeah. And yeah, that definitely goes back to what I was asking before. Like, I feel like a whole group of 8 matron mothers meeting in a room. There has to be a secret way to get into this room, or else all of Menzoberranzan would know about it.
Right.
And so to say we never met, I mean, maybe they use magic somehow. I don't know.
Because it's too, like, you figure if it's just the one door in the Mushroom Grove and everybody knows
Someone
about
would
it,
see.
you'd have somebody on a Denon-style lizard parked on a wall somewhere, just scoping it, right?
Totally.
You know,
I mean,
like, or
you
maybe
would think.
you go find a bugbear, you kick them off a couple of Drow credits, and you say, "Hey, you watch that door, and if it moves, you send somebody over to my house and you let them know."
But at the same time, if you have 8 matron mothers, as we saw how powerful they were in the last episode, 8 matron mothers, if they caught a spy,
Yeah, that's a good point.
you know,
That is a good point because that's why you'd have to outsource that spy. You could not have anybody close to from your home.
right? But they would have to be very skilled in order to not be seen.
Yeah, so then you probably wouldn't want an amateur.
Yep. So I don't know about that bugbear.
Can't wait to see what kind of spy-like fellas we may find in future books from the main houses.
I'm legitimately lost. I
Oh, it depends on how far you get a hold. He's a fan favorite. I absolutely love the guy. He's a villain / becomes part of the the world, I guess the best way to say it. He's one of my favorite characters.
Okay.
I think
Cool.
if you go into the Dim Light Squad and look at a lot of the guys that
there
call
have been
somebody
a number.
out, there's 2
Yep.
that have been yelled
Yep.
out a lot. Either one will fit that bill.
I've seen it, and you know,
Because if you
again,
think
I've
about
read
those 2 being a rogue, a spy, an assassin, just an infiltrator, they'd fit the bill.
No, say I've only read about 5 of these books, and all over the place. Some of them connected with each other, but
Oh, it's going to be so
no-
much fun as we go forward to see like the childlike wonder when you walk into the computer and be like,
right. And
I don't believe they did this.
and even though I've read this book, this is probably my 4th or 5th time through. I don't remember a lot of it, so even there, it's been a lot of fun. But anyway, that's the Drizzt, right? And it is now time to talk about our favorite parts in the dim light reel. The dim light reel, it's where we cast darkness on our favorite parts of the chapter, and dim light all of our favorite characters, events, descriptions, and more. Such a fun chapter. Not a total ton of stuff happens, but a lot of really like crazy things in their own way. So my favorite part this week has to be the answer to my question that I've had a number of weeks ago. Why doesn't Alton go to the ruling council and tell them that House Do'Urden killed House DeVere? Remember when I was asking that?
Yeah, like, I mean, why don't they just run up to the police, stand in front of the place, and say, hey, guess what happened? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you got your
And I'm-
answer.
And yeah, I was just like, I was like, hey, look, my question was answered. And yeah, so Alton going to the ruling council.
I think you were happy
to-
getting your answer than Alton was giving it, at that point. 'Cause
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, so Alton went to the ruling council to accuse House Do'Urden. It made perfect sense to me that he would do that. He's a house noble that survived an attack. And so boom, like House Do'Urden gets leveled by billions of demons, with the academy students ringing up the rear, shooting arrows or lightning bolts through the drow that try to escape through the balcony, and then they get
Pink
eaten by the
Floyd
demon.
laser
And
show.
so turns out, not so much. All right. So when Alton does reveal his true identity to the ruling council, not as Jelruz, but as Alton DeVere, I was like, here we go. They're gonna do something. And but no, they just said, what did they say? Like, it's been too long. And Jeffrey.
Yes.
Have you been reading ahead? Because I feel like that was your answer. Back when I asked this question, you were like, it's been too long. They're not going to do anything.
I may have read along and made notations, but I do my best to stay within the framework of each chapter.
So yeah, Matron Banray basically said, you can't expect us to act on something that happened so long ago. And so after, and yeah, of course, like, my brain is just like, has it been that long? 30 years? Like, okay, in real life, how long does, how much time has to pass?
Statute of limitations is what you're asking, right?
Right.
Yeah,
I exactly,
guess,
right?
I guess 7 years. I don't know why, but I guess 7.
No, I mean, decades. Like, it didn't seem like there was necessarily... Like, you can't be grandfathered in and like, okay, like, you killed that person 30 years ago, and you're good now, like, because we didn't catch you. You know? Like,
really? I really thought that was a thing. Like, if you had evaded capture for a certain period of time, like, you then like, oh, well, sorry, it's outside the statute of limitations. You can't be charged. Or is it... You can't be charged for a crime from that long ago, but you can, if you've committed it and been charged, they can chase you.
Maybe? I don't know.
I'm no good at real life law, buddy.
I didn't want to dig too deep into it because I felt like I was going to be put onto like an FBI list because I'm searching like, how long can I like go, like, how long does it take for me to not get charged with murder? Like,
you're a grown man who hosts a D&D session. I can only imagine the things that you actually research in order to put together a good game would really, really pop up kind of funny with no context.
I mean, I always make sure to put D&D 5e in all my Google searches that involve any kind of spells or...
Like, how do I kill that annoying guy? God.
Right.
/ D&D 5e.
So I didn't put too much effort in it, but just a very, very quick Google search. It just looked like you can be convicted of murder even decades after you committed the crime. So yeah, House Do'Urden committed murder a lot of times. I don't know how many Drow there were in House Devere, only 30 years ago, and they have just been found out officially by the ruling council by a noble from that house coming forward. And the police of the city are just like, you can't expect us to act on that.
I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? Look, that's I mean, there's paperwork and...
I mean, do they have paper? I don't even...
No, but you think about it, and
they have scrolls,
it's
right?
It's a neat look at the difference between the two, because we saw earlier with little girls from House Tekindui.
Mm-hmm.
They were the survivors, right?
Right.
They came forth, and their case was heard, except they were also absorbed by House Banray. And their house was auctioned off. And since there's none of that and nobody has any way to gain resources, Matron Banray's like, look, it's hardly worth me getting out of bed to call a
I guess that's
council.
true.
Like, you want me to summon demons from a different plane and not have an auction of all the people in your house? They're all gone.
That is a very good point, Jeffrey, because... yeah, the only thing left of that house is Alton. Yeah. That's it.
No pieces.
Everything else is gone.
No leverage, no collateral to take out a loan of vengeance. Nope, nothing.
But then, at the same time, you could almost tear apart House Do'Urden.
And there, in fact, is why Matron Banray sits back and goes, sure, let it go through. You know what I mean? Because if Matron Sinefay would have asked and demanded that there be justice, she wouldn't have got it. And she would have been cast as kind of like an outcast of the group because she's on the Security Council. Matron Banray, she's sitting at the top of this council, realizing that Matron Malice is hungrier than any of the matrons inside of this table. Whether that's true or not, that's the appearance she's giving off. And Matron Banray maybe, just maybe, even thinks that House Do'Urden would come for her. And in order to keep her and her friends, her collection of power safe, she's like, you know what, fine, eat one of the ones I don't care about. What is that? Hanette? How do you say that? 2 C's? Yeah, no, go ahead, have fun, take it out. And then either Matron Sinefay is successful and you don't have to worry about House Do'Urden anymore, or
Right.
there's no House Honeed anymore, and I don't have to listen to this lady bring up things from 30 years ago. I got my buddy Matron Malice. She's new to the Security Council. Let's continue to have these secret meetings.
Yeah. So, I was really excited to see my question answered. Nice. And also this just showed another example. I feel like it shows another example of just how the society of the Drow is just so upside down. Because it's just like, here, look, the police aren't doing their thing, right? They're just like, look, they survived. They accused that house. Nah, it's too late.
No, and it's crazy when you think about it, because they're undermining their own reputation in a way, right? Because their reputation is strict Drow justice. Like, you know what? If I catch you, it's not gonna work well. And then they got a chance, and there's this opportunity just falling over in front of them with like their shoes untied, and they're like, nope.
Nah,
but look, it's right there. Time. Like, it doesn't really interest me though. It's not worth it. Like, what do you mean not worth it? Like, and there's that arbitrary system, and it really does, to me at least, reinforce that. Yeah, it's the power of Lolth, right? And Lolth is the deity from which they get their structure and their organization from, and awesome. But really, it's the ruling council. I mean, the ruling council interprets who how Lolth's favor is seen, right? Because we know that, you know, it's not all rosy with how Drizzt and Zaknafein see Lolth. Like, they're not the biggest supporters, and there's probably some issues that Lolth would have. And, you know, if she's a big deity, she sees all that. She knows all that. But Matron Banrage, she's like, no, Matron Malice is high up in there because she's met all the tickets and ducats. She's a friend of mine, punches all the categories necessary. I think you're wrong. And that's it. That is done, dropped. Like, set it to the side.
That's it. That's all done. Yep. So that had to be my dim light for this week. What do you have for us this week, Jeffrey?
Well, for me, I went with Secret Agent Jelroos.
Ooh.
Yeah, fun little dim light that I wanted to take a little closer look at was when we find out that Jelroos was really a secret agent in the Drow society. It should come as no surprise that duplicitous deals happen in the society as cunning as the Drow, but here we see some of the scheming laid out for us to examine. Alden is pushed aside by Vierna as she enters his quarters, and he's immediately suspicious. He's worried that maybe his identity has slipped, and she knows who he is. But he quickly realizes that the identity that he has stolen was one of the spies used by Matron Malice?
Yeah.
The rumors of war on the winds have House Do'Urden trying to reestablish their former network, and Jelroos was a part of that. When asked about the impending war, he quickly deflects and explains that they're just rumors, because he's backpedaling so fast right there.
Yep.
You know, because he's just like, it's when you hear ice cracking, like, you know you're in trouble. You don't know which way to run, but you know you can't stand there. Then when Vierna presses, he says, you know, I've only heard a little, not enough to report to your house. Or I did not even suspect that House Do'Urden was involved until now, when you informed me. And he's just kind of pushing it off.
Mm-hmm.
Alden has worked his way below her radar, and Vierna brushes off his hesitancy as him maybe being upset that their previous payment had not been as promised. Maybe not been as effective as promised. Matron Malice had sent an unguent. Is that how you say that? Or an ungent?
You know, I don't even know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going with unguent.
Unguent.
It's a salve.
I'm on board.
Or a balm. On board. And since the Faceless One still went by the moniker of the Faceless One, it had obviously been unsuccessful. I found that to be quite hilarious that Vierna walks up and knows that, hey, I dropped off this balm about a couple years back now, and I see your face still jacked up. So, you know what? I know you're mad it didn't work. This time, could be different.
I guess we knew that was his payment, the Faceless One's payment. No, I thought it was mentioned, like, Dean and...
Oh, he
when
might
Dean
have.
met with the Faceless One. I think he mentioned it.
He definitely might have. Now I'm going to have to go back there and recheck. Guys, Dim Light Squad, do me a favor. Throw into the Discord. Let us know Did they know beforehand? And you can save me from backpedaling through about 16 chapters of notes. So if anybody knows that, just go into our discussion board. Let us know. Make me feel good. So Vierna baits the offer just a little bit more, throws a little heavier of a promise on there, and says that they've got this wonderful wizard staff. And, it just so happens House Do'Urden doesn't have any wizards. So, Faceless One, would you love this wizard staff? You know what? All you've got to do is just do what you've always been doing. Keep your ear to the wind, the one that's a little bit crispy and deformed. Alton promises he's going to do what he can, and the moment passes. Then Alton immediately goes to Matron Sinife in order to tell her everything he knows. But she is not impressed. She already knows that the Do'Urdens have been recalled and that they are preparing for war. Alton explains that Vierna showed up and wants to use the Faceless One as a spy, as they once used him to try and assassinate Alton. Matron Sinife, she loves the irony. It's like Winnie the Pooh and honey. She's licking her fingers. It's great. Loves the irony. The situation is House Do'Urden has reached out for help from those who seek to destroy them. They go on to work through some more of the plotting points and plans, but I think it's really interesting how it wraps up because Alton starts to put two and two together, and he stops and asks Matron Sinife if she gave Jel Roos her blessing to assassinate Alton.
He's not a dummy.
No, he's a little slow on the uptake, but he's definitely not a dummy. And I gotta say, it's really kind of. You had asked earlier, and this is the moment it brings me to. She will not brook any dissension in her ranks without her approval or say so. Otherwise, she will rip the weeds from the garden with no care, even if that's her son, Massage, I believe. So I think absolutely that what happened is Jel Roos came to her, told her, "Hey, this is what's going on," and she was like, "Yep, give it my blessing. There's no other way I see it going down."
I know, right?
30 years ago, Alton's like, "Hey, well, let me just work this on here and clarify just this one minor point. 30 years ago, did you use your station as an advantage to profit from the House of the Fall of Devere?" And then suddenly, Matron Sinife has this little smile on her face that just disappears in a flash. Boom, gone. And throws a table in the most Real Housewives of New Jersey approach ever. Throws a table in anger, grips him up by his robes, gets face to face with him, and you can just read the palpable tension and anger in the air as she says, "Never confuse personal feelings with politics. Never ask me such a question again." I was like, oh. And this is where I got into it. I said, it's essentially, this confirms that she gave the order to assassinate Alton. I mean, for me, I can't see it going any other way because Alton is reminded that really all he is just a pawn. And it's, really neat to point out the focus for me here is that Matron Sinife almost certainly told Jel Roos to go ahead and assassinate a noble of House Devere.
So, do you think Matron Sinife got anything out of the deal? Jel Roos was promised the salve.
Right.
But nothing to Sinife?
I don't think directly. I think she might have then tried to use more backworking and leverage to her favor. But I think in the similar way of Matron Bang and Ray, she's not going to get a lot from it if House Devere and House Hunnett go at it. So
right.
I don't think that Sinife really
just popped in my
benefited
head
that much. I think it's more of if this is already happening, I will take my cut and it will be paid to my house.
That's exactly what I just popped in my head. I was like, well, if the Do'Urdens are attacking Devere, they're not attacking Hunnett.
Yeah.
And
on the top of that, it gives her a layer of deniability. So if she works through her son, then it's, Matron Malice is going to be like, hey, I need somebody to do something. Let's talk to Jel Roos. But when Matron Sinife now wants to have maybe her grandson put up on the ruling council, she can have Jel Roos approach, Matron Vierna in this case, and say, hey, remember all that work I did for you? Remember how good House Hunnett was? And I think that's how leverage works a lot in the Drow society, by proxies. Yeah. They don't benefit per se, but that which benefits the house benefits the matron.
Right.
That's our T-shirt for the merch category that we don't have. That which benefits the house also benefits the matron. So it was neat because she had to have given the order. We watch it and she killed. It's a noble of house. And I think that is something that we haven't seen yet. We've seen Dinan kill Nalfine to get ahead. We watched Masaj actually kill Jelrus to get ahead. So it's not a surprise that Drow will use any chance in order to advance their station. But to see how Matron Sinefe was able to have a rival house defeated in House Devere to advance her own house. That's the biggest thing she gets out of this, because House Hunet was house number 5. House Devere was house number 4. So Matron Sinefe used her son and his station at Sorcerer to aid House Do'Urden in the eradication of the house directly ahead of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that was why she was helping, probably partially at least.
And, they should also maybe benefit by regaining the beautiful face of Jelrus. That's got to also help House Hunet, right? I mean, because maybe it didn't hurt. Or maybe it doesn't help, but it definitely doesn't hurt. You think about it, they got this son running around. He's the faceless one. He's the guy with the pock marks on his face that's half burned. It's probably got to affect him everywhere he goes in life. Faceless one. Yeah. God, don't give him the... they always talk when he passes. But if they made him beautiful again, he could walk through and seamlessly be a social butterfly. So, again, maybe it doesn't actually help House Hunet, but it sure doesn't hurt. So Matron Malice was able to get Dinan as the leader of the patrol with Drizzt on it, and I can't help but again think that she was using some influence and favors in a manner very similar to this. And that lets you know the Drow are very cunning and clever indeed. Everything they see is an opportunity. We saw her come across the Grey Dwarves earlier on, and the Grey Dwarves did nothing but have like a small falling out in public, and she saw it as an opportunity to get goods just given to her at like discount price. Like, I am always kind of in awe a little bit at just how manipulative they are. And how well they look at it and say, well, it's not us being manipulative. This is just good business.
Right.
So, Justin, that will bring me to the end of my dim light. And I think it's time that maybe we light a lantern and go a little deeper. What do you got for the dungeon delve, my friend?
The Dungeon Delve. It's the part of the show where we link this chapter with our favorite tabletop RPG. Jeffrey, turn your lantern on. It's dark in here.
That's how we like it.
I forgot to equip my dark vision spell. So, this week...
What's all that clacking?
Oh, no. This week, we saw during the ruling council scene that Alton was asked of his true identity after one of the members cast a spell to determine if he was lying. And we didn't actually see her casting the spell. We saw that she was preparing it and everything.
I don't even think she prepared it, did she? I think she called it in to be prepared.
No. Well, she was calling someone in. Yeah, okay. I just assumed it was another matron casting it, but maybe not. But
she's just having a mimosa, like, Charlotte, take care of the minor magic. Thank you.
But we didn't know what they were casting, and so it's just like, what's going on here? And turns out whoever it was casting some kind of spell to see if Alton was lying. And this could have been a simple detect thoughts spell, which we saw, in fact,
Breeza.
Early.
Right?
Yeah.
Or people fear that Breeza uses it. I don't know. Go ahead.
Just earlier in this chapter, when Alton was talking with Vierna, while he was lying to Vierna, there was a mention of him hoping that she didn't have any thought detection going on.
Do you think maybe that thought protection doesn't even exist in the realm of R.A. Salvatore's world, but that the women in the matriarchy are sitting around going, if we tell those males that we can read their thoughts, those stupid bumbling idiots are going to think that we're mind readers.
Right.
Just every once in a while when they say something, every third statement they make, pause, look at them, and shake your head a little. Just look disappointed.
Yeah. It would be hilarious. So, yeah, this could have been a simple detect thought spell, but I don't know that we actually looked into detect thoughts at all in any of our episodes.
I didn't.
Okay, I don't think I did either, but I went a totally different direction just because this made me think of...
But now that we realize we both didn't, we swerve.
We could, but we're not.
Nope, not this time either, sucker.
It got me thinking of a different spell that is used specifically to tell if someone is lying or not.
Okay.
It's a very
excited.
cool spell. I don't know that we've ever used it in our campaign, but I've seen it done when I've watched D&D shows and stuff like that. So it's called Zone of Truth. Zone of Truth is a 2nd level enchantment spell. And looking through the different classes, I see bards can learn it. What is that? Clerics. I know paladins can learn it. Druids doesn't look like druids do. So, I mean, it's not every class, but a number of classes here. So paladins, clerics, and bards at least. So anyway, so it's a 2nd level enchantment spell that takes 1 action to cast. And then within a range of 60 feet, the caster creates a magical zone that guards against deception.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so creatures that are within this 15-foot sphere, so they cast this spell, it casts up to 60 feet away, and it makes this 15-foot diameter bubble.
Okay.
And it's the Zone of Truth. And so any creature that is inside there is required to tell the truth.
Oh, I would use that in so many taverns. You know, when you're trying to get a little bit more information, you just have them cast it by the bar, then you stroll up excuse me, bartender. What's the lowest price you'd give me your mead for? You know what I mean? He'd be like, $2. Wait a minute. No, I wanted to charge you more.
But, I say that they're required to tell the truth, but they can try to deceive. What they have to do, What they have to do is they have to succeed on a charisma saving throw against the caster's spell DC.
Let me stop you right there. My character is done. No charisma. He does not get along with people. Grew up in the mountains. What do you want?
Right.
What do you want?
Yeah. And so if this is a matron mother casting the spell, their spell DC, I think, was 20. It was really high.
Yeah.
So it would be really difficult to succeed on a deception against a matron mother in this situation. On a successful save, they're able to deceive without the caster even knowing that they deceived. But if they fail, then the creature has to tell the truth. And the caster knows that they tried to lie.
Well, I mean, then the only thing they're gaining there is the knowledge that you willfully tried to lie because.
Right. Well, I mean, they're obviously not cooperating, but you're still getting the information that you wanted, possibly. So an affected creature they know that they're being affected by this spell, so they can attempt to answer or kind of avoid answering the question. They can try to just dance around it and without lying, but
maybe
then
be
not
ambiguous.
Yeah, and not fully telling the truth. So as long as the creature is not lying, they can respond to the question in any way.
Zone of Truth does not work on politicians.
So I don't think this was the spell that the ruling council member was casting, because Alton didn't really describe knowing that he was under any kind of spell effects.
Right. He would have felt it or something, right?
Right, or we would have seen. We probably would have saw this.
Well, they would have drawn attention to it because he would have.
Right.
Seen it. Okay.
Right.
That
but
makes sense.
so I don't think this was the actual spell that was used. But again, it's just a handy spell that could be used to tell if somene's lying. Yeah, so that's why I wanted to highlight this, because
I don't like the last line here that you got. No. Go ahead. Let them know.
My last line is, I wanted to highlight this spell because it could be a fun spell to use on the party at some point through a campaign, because get them to stop deceiving your NPCs all the time.
Sir, if an NPC does not exist solely being manipulated and have the wool pulled over their eyes, then what are they even there for? They are non-playable characters.
But,
I can't imagine a world where my character would have to tell the truth every time. Could you imagine you create yourself a nice little thieving rogue and your DM is on this whole bent of throwing cast of truth from their characters?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that was one of the first times I saw this spell used was on one of my D&D shows I watched, the Dungeon Run. And this paladin casts Zone of Truth, and the one PC walks in, kind of reluctantly, walks into the Zone of Truth, and the paladin asks him, "What's your name?" And this is the rogue of the party. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to try to deceive." And everyone else is like, "What?"
Just on principle alone.
No, like, it turned out the party didn't actually even know this character's real name.
Right.
And they were like, man, I don't even know how many episodes in. Probably at least 25. Well, no, even more, like 30 episodes in. 4-hour episodes. Do the math. And that's how many hours these people didn't even know his name. And all of a sudden, Zone of Truth is like making it, bringing that out in the light. And they're just
Wait,
like,
your
whoa.
name is Ted? We thought you were Jarnathan.
So that was my... I almost called it a dim light again.
No,
I know.
sir, that's the Dungeon Delve.
That's my Dungeon Delve. I realized I called my my Dungeon Delve, I think 2 episodes ago. I called it a dim light, but whew, that's my Dungeon Delve.
When you read and say as many words as we do, they don't come out in the order that you want them to. We just gotta just gotta pick it up and roll through with it.
You just plow right through it.
So for me, I wanted to take a little deeper of a delve into Burn Sooth ointment. Yeah. So this chapter seemed a little light when it came to the Dungeon Delve components, but fear not, because sometimes when the obvious doesn't reveal itself, you gotta look at the object from a different point of view, right? So we meet the agent formerly known as Jelroos, as Alton is getting propositioned for a deal, and find out that the House Do'Urden had offered the previous Faceless One a cream that would heal his wound. His face. And I thought it was really a fun time to take a look at the role-playing part of D&D again.
Okay.
So there are quite a few different types of damage that you can take. We've heard about piercing and slashing and bludgeoning. However, you may also run across fire and acid in this game. And there are times when the damage may disfigure your character or disable them in some manner. Maybe you lost an arm while fighting a bad guy and you find yourself short a limb to carry a shield. This would definitely have an impact on you, right? Maybe your DM gets inventive and decides that they're going to disfigure you because you got dragged into a fire during a fight, like we talked about with the grappling. Got all burned up. And then, I mentioned this a little bit with Jelroos earlier, but that could actually affect how people in town treat you. It could affect how you're viewed as you travel. It could become quite bothersome in ways one might not readily expect. And, I just did the Princess Bride on the other podcast, but it makes me think of the pain where he's like, I'll leave you your ears so you can hear the shrieks and the torment of everybody who sees you. And it's like, that's what I think of when I'm thinking like, oh, you're melted, huh? Oh, bro. Right. Like you want to walk up and see your little nephew and flip him a little coin and get a high five and they're running away in terror.
Right. And well, this is where like, I don't know, like the whole idea of long rests.
Well, they heal hit points. Not necessarily damage.
But I mean, like, you get shot with an arrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get healed by, say, like a cleric, what happens? Do you have to pull the arrow out and then it heals the wound? Or as the cleric is healing you, does the arrow just pop out they're healing? Like,
I have always kind of pictured this as you would rip the arrow out and then the spell needs the flesh. Like, it weaves it back together.
Okay, that would make a lot of sense. And then, like, but after a long rest, like, you do get fully healed.
Hit point wise, yes.
Hit point wise. So it's just like, I mean, it's a fantasy world, but I don't know. Like, of course, like, you're not going to replace a limb when you're not going to sleep off an amputated limb.
No, but I guess maybe you can make a thing to go craft you a gun onto the side of your arm, or I mean, really depends on how deep and creative you want to get with it. Because I do know that cool. I think about it like if you take damage in a battle, you wake up and you're rested, you're healed, but you still have scars. So if you get a critical hit to the face, You're going to take damage. You can take double damage. Maybe it costs you an eye and you're wearing an eye patch for you know what I mean? Like those things, depending on your DM, they can choose to mete out different kinds of punishment through how
Jeffrey,
damage roll.
you are giving me some really good ideas here.
Just remember, the druid never gets hit. As the druid, So I say all of that to bring up, ready? This is one of the great parts of D&D because who knows anything about herb crafting?
I saw this in your notes. I'm so excited for this, and I have some
geeked
stuff.
out a little bit.
I have some stuff for you.
Beautiful.
So
I love it because I saw this and I was like, I'm going through the chapter and I'm thinking to myself, what do I want to do? There's no like spell that jumps out to me because there's nothing new that flies out at me. Like we had the wizard staff, we did have the zone of truth. You already had the zone of truth, so I was like, herb crafting. I'm going to work that into this. So if you have proficiency in this skill, you can create salves and ointments by gathering items together and crafting the product. If you go to page 154 in the player's handbook, it actually describes the herbalism kit, which has clippers, a mortar and pestle, pouches, vials, and more. So proficiency gives you a bonus when rolling checks for identifying and applying herbs. The first step is to get the recipe. Then you go and get forage for the ingredients. The benefit of being proficient is that you can actually substitute local ingredients as they're needed, if they're applicable. Some of the ingredients are going to be special items. Those need to be quested for in order to find the items you're looking for. You have to look one at a time. You can't just go blanket look unless your DM has it set up with you. In the terrain where the item is located, for 1 hour at a time. So you have to spend 1 hour incrementally in a terrain. So if you know that you're looking for a mushroom and they're only found in swamps, you need to go spend an hour in that swamp foraging to try to find that mushroom. You don't find it just because you spent an hour there. During this hour, you can't do anything else. You can't travel too far from the spot. You're just foraging. At the end of your foraging day, the DM will have you make a DC. If you don't meet the lowest quality crafting, you did not turn up enough ingredients. An important note is that most ingredients cannot be stored indefinitely and require special storage, like jars, stuff like that. Jars, vials, stoppers, crystals, pouches, whatever. It depends on the different ingredients. This makes stockpiling them very cumbersome and darn near impossible with a lot of them because they want to make sure that you're actively foraging and continuing instead of just carrying this tinker house on the back in a backpack with everything inside of it in your giant bag of holding. When it comes to recipes, if you don't find the notes of an herbalist or have an herbalist in town to learn from, I found this interesting. You can actually use your kit to break down the items and assess their ingredients. So you're basically reverse engineering something you have in front of you. If they gave you this salve from House Do'Urden, you could use your herbalism kit to break it down, try to find out everything that went into it, and make your own. So now that we know we can make stuff, what do we make? Well, Alden probably needed burnsooth ointment. This is a paste composed primarily of roots and plant oils. It reduces pain and speeds the recovery of burns. If applied to a creature's wound within 10 minutes of their taking fire damage from any source, or within 10 minutes of the end of an encounter, then the creature will heal 3d6, or 5d6 plus 2, or 6d8 plus 2, depending on the quality.
Okay.
It can be minor, worth 20 gold, moderate, worth 40 gold, or masterwork, worth 50 gold. It expires within 24 hours. The ingredients are normally in a forest or swamp, and the crafting DC is a 10, 15, or 20, depending on which level that comes in at, masterwork being the 20, for the 3 different levels. We also notice, however, that it must be applied pretty soon after the event, so it turns out it would not have been able to help Jelroos, and it definitely won't help Alden.
Yeah. All right, so Jeffrey.
Yes.
While you were talking about your dungeon delve, I shared something with you, and maybe we'll post it in the Discord as well. In our Google Drive,
okay,
I posted a homebrew herbalism and alchemy set of rules that, I mean, I've had this for years, and I've always wanted to use it, but it's all about what you were just talking about, plus oh so much more. It goes into the specific ingredients and what they do, what their special condition is, what their potion effect is. It goes into it goes into how rare they are. It goes into where you would find them, and if you want to go look for them, you have to, like you were saying, go spend an hour there. Then you get to roll on this random table that has the random tables in there, and it tells you what you find. It has different DCs for DC modifiers for when you are actually potion making.
You should definitely share this with the people.
I mean, I don't even remember where I found this. I just remember finding it at one point and being like,
because these are the pages out of the book, right? Basically.
Well, that's what it looks like, but no, I mean, they made it look very official. It's all homebrew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it talks about the specific plant life. So Arctic creeper, this noxious weed usually grows in extremely cold environments or at higher elevations where snow tends to accumulate.
Bro, we have definitely got to do like a one-off where we are foraging to
right.
The whole thing, because it gives you something as simple as, for those people who haven't seen it yet, hopefully we'll get this uploaded. It says Hills ingredients. You roll 2d6. For, let's say, common ingredient, roll on common ingredient table. You have stuff like devil's bloodleaf, nightshade berries, tail leaf. Like, that's so cool.
So those are the things that you would find then, and then you would go into, like, there's tables, like I said, that tell you what the enchantment is, if it's an enchantment ingredient, or if it's a potion ingredient, and tells you what the potion effect is. Like, so cool. It's so cool. I've always wanted to use it, but...
No, we'll definitely have to find a way to make this come into play, because, I mean, for the people who are wondering, like, it also gives you the randomness of finding it. So going back to, say, the swamp ingredients, like I mentioned, you'll roll 2d6. Why am I rolling 2d6? Well, you want to find out what you found. So I roll 2d6, and I roll randomly a 9. So you roll down here, you look down here, and it says, well, now you have found blue toad shade. Find 2 times the rolled amounts. I was like, Oh, that's wicked.
Cool.
Whoever put this together has done a wonderful job. And I think
they really did. This. Yeah. Again, I have no idea where I found it. I have no idea who to give credit to, but it probably says at the very top who wrote it, but...
Dalagrath.
Supplement
designer, Dalagrath. Testing and balancing is by Gamer Maker Riposte. And then the flavor text are Dalagrath and Smigs.
Yeah.
And shrimp. So,
and shrimp.
Dalagrath, Smigs, shrimp. We appreciate you putting together this beautiful document. We're going to go ahead and share it with our Dim Light Squad. For those of you who are listening, for those of you who are watching, we'll wave to you. Hey, guys, come check this out. I mean, stuff like this is how we go beyond the page together, and, I mean, how we just continue to take everything a step further and have fun together.
Yeah. All right. So... I think that's gonna do it for this episode. So thank you everyone that is listening. Remember that if you like this show,
yes,
give us a 5-star rating. Also, make sure you are getting the most out of this podcast. Pick up a copy of the book and read along with us. Or you can always listen to the audiobook. Listen during your commute, while you're sitting in traffic during your commute, while you're walking through the park on these nice spring days that we've been having. Probably not so nice and springy in New Zealand, but
feel free to let us know if it is.
And or maybe you're sitting in class and it's super boring. Maybe. Probably don't listen to us during class.
As a former teacher, I can see the hesitance in your face where you say, I don't feel so strong about this one.
Yeah, I mean, if it's this show, I'm sure your teacher would be fine with it.
You know what? Let your teacher know you're listening to this show. They might love it too.
Oh, I'm sure they would. So, when you've read the next chapter, let us hear your favorite parts. Email us. You can reach us at drizztdoneright@gmail.com, or you can log on to our Discord and join in on the ongoing discussion there. We would love to hear from you.
Folks, the end of the show is what comes after all the fun that we've had in the middle. It's just the way that it's structured. I know, it's got to be really hard to say goodbye when you're part of a community that's as fun as this one. If you're all enjoying the show we put on before you, then go to the episode link, click the button that says support this show, send $1, send $5, send whatever you want if you've got the ability. And we're going to keep putting it towards making a more beautiful world for us all to adventure in together. So until we meet again, while we wait for the next time for you to press play, farewell, play fair, be well.